Midnight struck as shadows danced across the fog-shrouded manor, and a chilling pact sealed the fate of 13 unwitting souls. Welcome to the Halloween Pact, Poirot and the 13 Guests, a tale of mystery and malice that will keep you guessing. Grab a cup of tea, take a seat, and immerse yourself in this eerie adventure. If you're hooked, hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. Chapter 1. The Invitation to Blackwood Manor. As the autumn leaves whispered secrets to the wind, Hercule Poirot adjusted his impeccable moustache in the mirror of his London flat, his little grey cells already tingling with anticipation. It was October 30th, the eve of All Hallows' Eve, and an enigmatic invitation had arrived by post that morning, sealed with crimson wax bearing the emblem of a twisted pumpkin. The card read, "Dear Monsieur Poirot, your presence is requested at Blackwood Manor for a Halloween gathering of 13 distinguished guests. Secrets will be unveiled, fortunes told, and perhaps a pact or two forged under the moon. Arrive by dusk. Yours mysteriously, Lord Reginald Blackwood." Poirot, ever the connoisseur of human puzzles, couldn't resist such a cryptic summons. He packed his valise with essentials, a magnifying glass, a vial of tisane for his delicate digestion, and his sharpest wits, before boarding the evening train to the remote English countryside. Upon arrival, as the sun dipped below the horizon like a blood-orange orb, Poirot was greeted by the manor's towering silhouette, its Gothic spires piercing the twilight sky. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and burning wood from distant bonfires, setting a perfect stage for intrigue. A butler named Graves, with a face as pale and expressionless as a gravestone, led him through creaking oak doors into the grand foyer, where flickering candlelight cast elongated shadows on portraits of stern ancestors. "The master awaits in the drawing-room, sir," Graves intoned, his voice echoing like a distant thunderclap. Poirot nodded, noting the butler's trembling hands. Nerves, perhaps, or something more sinister. In the opulent drawing-room, adorned with cobweb-draped chandeliers and velvet drapes the colour of midnight, Lord Blackwood himself welcomed the guests with a booming laugh that didn't quite reach his piercing blue eyes. He was a robust man in his 50s, dressed in a tailored tuxedo with a pumpkin-shaped brooch pinned to his lapel, his greying hair slicked back like a raven's wing. "Ah, Poirot, the great detective graces us at last," Blackwood exclaimed, clapping him on the shoulder. Around the room, the other 12 guests mingled uneasily, sipping sherry from crystal glasses. There was Lady Evelyn Thorne, a glamorous widow with ruby lips and a string of pearls that seemed to choke her slender neck. Dr. Harlan Voss, a bespectacled psychiatrist whose gaze dissected every soul like a scalpel, and young Amelia Croft, an aspiring novelist with wide eyes full of romantic notions, clutching a notebook as if it were a talisman against the unknown. As introductions flowed like the wine being poured, Poirot observed the eclectic mix. A banker, a fortune-teller named Madame Zara, with jangling bracelets and a veil of mystery, a retired colonel barking orders at no one in particular, a silent artist sketching furtive glances, twins who finished each other's sentences with eerie precision, a journalist sniffing for scandals, a chef whose hands bore scars from unseen battles, and a reclusive inventor tinkering with a peculiar gadget in the corner. 13 in total, including Poirot himself, a number ripe for superstition on Halloween. Blackwood raised his glass for a toast. "To the pact we shall make tonight, binding us in fortune and fate." The words hung in the air like smoke, and Poirot felt a shiver. What pact? No one else seemed to know, but smiles were forced, eyes darted. Was this a mere party or the prelude to something darker? Dinner unfolded in the candle-lit dining hall, where a long oak table groaned under platters of roast pheasant, pumpkin soup spiced with nutmeg, and blood-red beet salads that evoked visions of harvest moons. Conversations buzzed with polite banalities. Lady Thorne regaled the group with tales of her late husband's exotic travels, while Dr. Voss probed Amelia about her dreams, his questions probing like psychological hooks. Poirot, seated at Blackwood's right, leaned in. "Mon ami, this pact you mention, what is its nature?" Blackwood chuckled, his fork pausing mid-air. "Patience, Poirot. At midnight all will be revealed. It's a tradition here at Blackwood Manor, a game of truths and dares that tests the soul." But Poirot's instincts screamed foul play. He noticed Graves slipping a small envelope into Blackwood's pocket, and Madame Zara's crystal ball reflecting faces twisted in unspoken fear. As dessert arrived, chocolate tarts shaped like grinning jack-o'-lanterns, tension thickened. The Colonel grumbled about wartime ghosts, the twins whispered secrets, and the journalist, a sharp-nosed fellow named Reed, scribbled notes furiously. Poirot excused himself briefly, wandering the halls under pretense of admiring the architecture. In a shadowed alcove, he overheard two guests murmuring, "Blackwood's fortune is cursed. They say the pact revives old grudges." Returning, he found the group assembled by the roaring fireplace, where Blackwood announced the evening's entertainment, a séance led by Madame Zara. "Before the pact, let us commune with the spirits," he declared. The room dimmed, hands joined in a circle, and as the clock ticked toward 11, a cold draught extinguished the flames, plunging them into darkness. A gasp echoed. Someone had whispered, "Death comes for one tonight." Poirot's mind raced, piecing together fragments, the invitation's urgency, the guests' hidden connections. He'd overheard Reed mention a shared scandal from years ago, and Blackwood's evasive glee. This was no ordinary gathering. It smelled of motive and malice. As the séance began with Madame Zara's incantations, a ghostly moan filled the air. Was it wind or warning? The chapter closed on that suspenseful note, the group holding their breath, unaware that the true mystery was just unfolding, leading seamlessly into the revelations awaiting in the witching hour. Chapter 2. The Séance and the Midnight Oath. The séance circle tightened as Madame Zara's voice rose in a hypnotic chant, her bangles clinking like chains in the suffocating darkness of the drawing room. A single candle flickered back to life on the center table, its flame dancing wildly as if tormented by invisible winds. Poirot sat rigidly, his eyes scanning the joined hands around him. Lady Thorne's fingers trembled against the Colonel's calloused palm, while the inventor's gadget hummed faintly from his pocket. "Spirits of Blackwood past," Zara intoned, her veiled face glowing ethereally. "Reveal the threads that bind these souls." A sudden gust rattled the windows, and from the ether came a voice, hollow and rasping. 13 enter, 12 shall leave." Gasps rippled through the group. Amelia dropped her notebook, pages scattering like fallen leaves, while Dr. Voss muttered about mass hysteria under his breath. Blackwood, unfazed, clapped sharply, restoring gaslight illumination. "A fine opener to our night," he boomed, rising to pour brandy from a decanter etched with skeletal motifs. The guests shifted uneasily, but no one dared leave. Zara, eyes rolling back, pointed dramatically at the circle. "The pact demands confession, one secret each, sworn under oath at midnight. Break it, and the curse claims you." Whispers erupted. The banker, Mr. Hargrove, paled, clutching his cigar. The artist, Elias Crowe, smudged his sketchpad with sweaty palms. Poirot leaned forward, his moustache twitching. This was no parlour trick. The air crackled with real dread, and he spotted a faint wire beneath the table. Sleight of hand, or genuine supernatural meddling. As the grandfather clock gonged 11:30, Blackwood herded them to the Manor's hidden chapel, a stone chamber beneath the east wing, accessed via a spiralling staircase lit by sputtering torches. Cobwebs clung to ancient pews carved with pentagrams, and a massive iron cauldron bubbled in the center, filled with a pungent brew of herbs and what smelled like animal blood. "Here, where my ancestors forged the first pact in 1692, Blackwood explained, his voice echoing off vaulted ceilings adorned with faded witch trial murals. The 13 formed a ring around the cauldron, flames leaping high to cast demonic shadows. Madame Zara distributed silver daggers, each engraved with a guest's initial. "Prick your thumb, mingle your blood, and speak your truth," she commanded. The ritual began with Blackwood himself. He sliced his thumb swiftly, a crimson drop falling into the brew with a hiss. "I confess, I ruined a rival in 09, framing him for fraud to claim his mills." The liquid bubbled violently, steam forming ghostly faces. Applause was sparse, but the pact compelled continuation. Lady Thorne went next, her pearl necklace swaying as she cut deep. "My husband didn't die in Egypt. He fell from my balcony after I learned of his affair." A murmur of shock. Read the journalist's pen flew across his pad. The colonel followed, bellowing, "I shot a comrade in the trenches, not enemy fire, but to steal his valor medals." His drop sizzled like fat on a fire. Poirot watched intently as the confessions poured out, each more damning than the last. Dr. Voss admitted hypnotizing patients for illicit experiments, his glasses fogging with sweat. Amelia, voice quivering, revealed plagiarizing her debut novel from a dead mentor's unpublished work. The twins, Lila and Leo, confessed in unison. "We poisoned our father's wine to inherit his estate early." Hargrove stammered about embezzling widows' pensions. Crowe admitted forging paintings sold to Blackwood himself. The chef, Monsieur Duval, growled, "I spiked a critic's meal with nightshade for a bad review." The inventor, Professor Hale, unveiled sabotaging a colleague's airship prototype for patent glory. Reed, last before Poirot, smirked bitterly. "I blackmailed Blackwood with photos of his illegitimate child, demanding silence money." Now all eyes on Poirot. He pricked his thumb delicately, a single ruby bead joining the cauldron's froth. "I confess nothing," he stated calmly, "for my secrets are my own, and this farce reveals more than blood." Murmurs of anger rose, but Blackwood laughed. "The detective plays coy. So be it. The pact binds regardless." Zara sealed it with a chant, the cauldron erupting in green flames that singed brows and beards. They swore the oath, "By blood and bone our truths entwine. Betray the pact, and doom be thine." The chapel shook as if thunder rolled beneath, dust cascading from rafters. Outside, wolves howled, or were they guests' stifled cries? Emerging into the moonlit hallway at the stroke of midnight, the group dispersed to assigned bedchambers, faces ashen, hands bandaged. Poirot retired to his room, a velvet-draped suite with a four-poster bed and a window overlooking jagged cliffs. He sipped tisane, replaying the confessions in his mind. Patterns emerged. Blackwood connected to nearly all. Debts, rivalries, shared sins from a 1912 scandal involving a forged will that cost lives. But why summon them now? As he extinguished his lamp, a floorboard creaked outside his door. Peering through the keyhole, he saw a cloaked figure slip a note under. "The pact begins. One must die by dawn." Heart pounding, Poirot barred the door, but sleep evaded him. Down the hall, unrest brewed. In the twins' room, an argument escalated. Leo accused Lila of plotting against him anew. Lady Thorne sobbed into her pillow, haunted by her revelation. Dr. Voss paced, analysing the group's psyches for weaknesses. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night from the inventor's chamber. Guests poured into the corridor, candles aloft. Professor Hale lay sprawled, his gadget shattered beside him. A silver dagger, Zara's own, plunged into his chest. Blood pooled in a pentagram shape, his thumb wound still fresh. "Murder!" Blackwood roared, but Poirot knelt, examining the scene. No forced entry. The dagger's engraving read H, Hale's initial. poison residue on the blade, and a scrawled message in blood on the wall. Betrayer pays first. Chaos ensued as accusations flew. The colonel brandished his cane like a saber. Reed snapped photos shamelessly. Who saw what? Poirot demanded, his voice cutting through the din. Amelia babbled about hearing footsteps. Duval claimed a shadow fled toward the chapel. Zara clutched her crystal ball, murmuring, "The spirits warned us." Blackwood locked the manor doors, declaring no one leaves until dawn. Poirot gathered them in the foyer, eyes sharp. The Pact's curse is no ghost, it's human malice. Hale broke it already. He whispered to me of destroying evidence against Blackwood. Gasps. Motives multiplied. As Cockcrow neared, Poirot assigned watches, pairs to guard corridors, searching for the cloaked killer. In the library, Poirot pored over Blackwood's ledgers by lamplight, uncovering forged documents linking every guest to a hidden fortune buried on the grounds. The true Pact's prize, worth millions, divisible only if all survived confessions. But Hale had planned to flee with maps. A crash from upstairs, another scream. Rushing up, they found the butler's pantry ransacked. Graves slumped against barrels, throats slit with a kitchen knife. Second betrayal, Poirot noted, finding a pack dagger nearby, engraved G for Graves. Wait, Graves wasn't a guest. Blackwood paled. The butler knew too much. Dawn broke blood red over the cliffs, 2 dead, 11 shaken. Poirot addressed the huddle. The killer strikes those who guard secrets. Stay vigilant, the pack devours its own. As fog rolled in, hiding paths to escape, the survivors eyed each other warily. The manor's bells tolling ominously, promising more horror before the Halloween sun set. Chapter 3. Dawn's revelations and the hidden vault sunlight pierced the heavy curtains of Blackwood Manor like hesitant fingers, casting long shadows across the foyer, where the remaining 11 guests huddled in a tense semicircle. Poirot stood at the centre, his compact frame exuding calm authority amid the chaos, his eyes darting from face to face like a hawk surveying prey. The bodies of Professor Hale and Graves had been moved to the cold cellar on Blackwood's orders, wrapped in linen sheets stained with drying blood, but the metallic tang of death lingered in the air, mingling with the scent of stale brandy and fear sweat. "Mes amis," Poirot began, his Belgian accent clipping the words precisely. "We must reconstruct the night. The killer walks among us, cloaked in confession but driven by greed or grudge." Blackwood nodded gravely. His tuxedo rumpled from the sleepless hours, while the others shifted uncomfortably. Lady Thorne twisting her pearls, the colonel gripping his cane like a weapon, and Amelia clutching her retrieved notebook, her fingers ink-smudged from frantic jottings. Poirot directed them to recount their movements after the pact. Starting with Reed, the journalist admitted slipping away to develop photos in a makeshift darkroom in the scullery, capturing the séance's eerie moments for a potential exposé. "I heard footsteps but thought it was the wind," he said, his sharp nose twitching. Duval the chef claimed he was in the kitchen sharpening knives, ironically, given Graves's slit throat, preparing breakfast amid the turmoil. "Zut alors, I saw no one," he growled, his scarred hands flexing. The twins, Lila and Leo, insisted they argued in their room about dividing their inheritance, only emerging at the first scream. "We alibi each other," Lila sneered, her brother's nod mirroring her defiance. Dr. Voss adjusted his spectacles, confessing he'd been in the study analysing the group's behaviours in his journal. "Fascinating neuroses," he murmured, "but no killers spotted." Madame Zara, her veil askew and bangles silent, said she'd retreated to her chamber to consult her tarot deck, drawing the death card repeatedly. "The spirits guided me inward," she whispered dramatically. Hargrove, the banker, mumbled about counting his losses in the billiard room, cigar ash dusting his vest. Crow the artist sketched the manor's facade from a window, claiming inspiration struck in the wee hours. Lady Thorne admitted pacing her boudoir, regretting her balcony confession, while the colonel barked that he dozed in an armchair by the fire, revolver at hand from old habits. Amelia, last, blushed as she revealed writing a story outline based on the pact. Her imagination fired by the revelations. "I was alone, lost in words," she said softly. Blackwood himself paced the halls, he claimed, ensuring doors were locked against intruders, though Poirot noted his pocket watch chain bore a fresh blood speck, perhaps from handling the bodies. Satisfied with the alibis for now, Poirot led a systematic search of the manor, dividing the group into pairs to cover ground swiftly. He paired himself with Blackwood, sensing the host held keys to the puzzle. They started in Hale's chamber, where the shattered gadget, a mechanical lockpick, Poirot deduced, lay amid shards of glass from a broken vial. Poison on the dagger, Poirot confirmed, sniffing residue that smelled of bitter almonds, cyanide, swift and silent. The blood message on the wall, "Betrayer pays first," was scrawled in Hale's own hand, forced perhaps, with smudges indicating a struggle. In Graves' pantry quarters, the slit throat revealed a defensive wound on the butler's arm and a torn cufflink engraved with a B, Blackwood's. The host blanched. "Lost it weeks ago," he stammered, but Poirot pocketed it silently. Down in the library, as morning light filtered through dust-moted windows lined with leather-bound tomes, Poirot uncovered a hidden compartment behind a false shelf of occult books. Inside lay yellowed documents, a 1912 will from Blackwood's grandfather, contested by ancestors of several guests, Thorne's husband, Voss's father, the twins' great-uncle. "Ah, the motive crystallizes," Poirot murmured. The will hid a vault beneath the chapel, containing jewels, gold, and deeds worth fortunes, accessible only if all betrayers confessed and survived a night of truths, or died, forfeiting shares to survivors. Blackwood confessed partially. The pact revives the old rite. Survivors split the vault at dawn. But 2 deaths meant redistribution and suspicion. A shout from upstairs interrupted. Duval and Reed had found a bloody glove in the twins' wardrobe, monogrammed L for Lila or Leo. The siblings protested innocence, accusing each other in a heated spat that revealed deeper rifts. Leo had been embezzling from their joint accounts. Meanwhile, Lady Thorne and Zara discovered a poisoned sherry glass in Voss's study. The doctor's own confession note crumpled nearby, hinting at suicide attempts in his past. "Someone knows our weaknesses," Voss admitted, his analytical facade cracking. The colonel and Hargrove unearthed a secret passage from the chapel to the cliffs, its door ajar, suggesting an escape route, or entry for an outsider. But footprints in the mud matched Manor shoes, pointing inward. Poirot reconvened everyone in the dining hall for breakfast. Though appetites were nil, over cooling tea and untouched scones, he pieced aloud. Hale died for threatening to expose the vault's location. He whispered maps to me before retiring. Graves overheard, paid with his life for loyalty or blackmail. Eyes widened. Accusations flew anew. Reed pointed at Blackwood. "You benefit most. Fewer shares mean more gold." Blackwood retorted. "You're the snoop sniffing scandals for profit," Amelia interjected timidly. "What if it's the curse? The spirits—" But Zara shushed her, cards flipping to reveal the tower, catastrophe looming. Tension peaked when a third scream echoed from the east wing. Rushing there, they found Crow, the artist, in his studio, slumped over his easel, a palette knife embedded in his throat, paint mixed with blood on the canvas, depicting a grotesque pact scene with 13 figures, one crossed out, now 3. A note clutched in his hand. "Saw too much." Poirot examined. Death recent, within minutes. The knife from Duval's kitchen set. "Alibis shatter," he declared. During the search, Crow had been paired with Amelia, but she'd stepped away briefly for water. "He was alive when I left," she cried, tears streaming. Interrogations intensified. Crow had sketched incriminating details, Blackwood arguing with Hale pre-packed, Voss slipping something into drinks. "He observed us all," Poirot noted, A hidden sketchbook revealed more. Lady Thorne meeting Reed clandestinely, the twins plotting with Hargrove. Motives multiplied like shadows at dusk. As noon approached, Poirot suggested opening the vault to lure the killer. Blackwood agreed reluctantly, leading them back to the chapel. Twisting a pentagram carving, a stone slab groaned open, revealing stairs to a damp crypt lit by eternal torches. The vault glittered, chests overflowing with emeralds, rubies, gold coins stamped with witch symbols, and land deeds yellowed with age. "Divide by 11 now," Blackwood said greedily, but Poirot halted him. "Touch nothing, it's bait." They waited in ambush, hearts pounding. Footsteps echoed. A figure emerged cloaked. Duval, dagger raised toward Blackwood. "You framed my family in 12, the chef snarled, lunging. The colonel tackled him, but Duval broke free, only for Voss to hypnotize him momentarily with a pendant swing. Subdued, Duval confessed, "I killed Hale for his sabotage invention that ruined my restaurant. Graves for spying, Crow for sketching my deeds." But Poirot shook his head. "No, you are but a pawn." The glove in the twins' room, planted. The poison glass, diversion. True killer unmasked. Reed, the journalist, whose photos were forgeries to blackmail all. His family the original Will's thieves. He'd orchestrated deaths to claim the vault solo, using packed chaos as cover. Evidence. His darkroom hid cyanide vials, bloody rags. Scooped the ultimate story. My fortune. Reed sneered, but Poirot's logic trapped him. Struggle ensued. Reed fled to cliffs, slipping on fog-slick rocks into the abyss below. Body recovered? Unclear, but Manor sighed relief. With killer gone, survivors divided spoils warily. Blackwood donating his share to charity, perhaps purging curses. Poirot declined his portion, satisfied with truth. As carriages arrived for departures, a final twist. Amelia's notebook held a pact addendum. Reed's child was Blackwood's. Motive deepened. Mysteries linger, Poirot mused, boarding his train. But Halloween's Eve waned, leaving echoes of oaths and blood, priming for lingering vendettas in twilight's grasp. Chapter 4. The fog of false closure mist clung to Blackwood Manor like a shroud as the afternoon sun struggled to burn through the thickening fog rolling in from the cliffs, turning the world beyond the windows into a ghostly blur. Poirot stood on the gravel drive, valise in hand, watching the survivors board carriages with hurried glances over their shoulders. Lady Thorne's face pale beneath her wide-brimmed hat, the colonel barking orders to the driver, as if commanding troops, and Blackwood himself lingering by the door, his robust frame slumped with unaccustomed weariness. Amelia Croft approached Poirot shyly, her notebook tucked under her arm like a shield. "Monsieur, is it truly over?" Reed's fall. It felt too convenient. Poirot's eyes twinkled beneath his hat brim. "Ma petite, in mysteries, convenience is often the killer's greatest ally. Depart with care, the fog hides more than rocks." She nodded, climbing into her carriage, but as the wheels crunched away, a distant church bell tolled 4 times, ominous in the haze. Back inside, Blackwood poured sherry in the drawing room for the lingering few. Himself, Zara, Voss, and Duval, now bound by ropes in the corner after his foiled vault attack, his scarred face twisted in defiance. "The detective's wrong," Duval spat through bruised lips. "Reed wasn't alone. I saw shadows moving with him." Blackwood waved dismissively, handing Voss a glass. "Nonsense. The journalist's body washed up at dawn, neck broken on the rocks. Constable confirmed suicide in the fog. Vault's ours now, divided fair." Voss sipped thoughtfully, his spectacles glinting. Psychologically, closure heals, but Duval's rage suggests accomplices. Zara shuffled her tarot silently, the death card flipping up again, her bangles clinking like warning bells. Poirot, refusing to leave until the fog lifted, excused himself to the library, where he methodically examined Reed's confiscated camera. Developing plates in a makeshift tray over the sink, images emerged. Blurred figures in the chapel, but one sharp. Hale whispering to not Reed, but to Lila of the twins, passing a crumpled map. "Ah, the web tightens," Poirot murmured, drying the print. Footsteps approached. It was Hargrove, the banker, sweating profusely despite the chill. "Poirot, I must confess more. The vault deeds include my bank's liens from 12. If Reed had them, I'd be ruined anew." Poirot nodded sympathetically. "And who else shares such debts?" Hargrove whispered. "The Colonel. War loans defaulted. Voss. Clinic funding embezzled." A crash from the hallway shattered the quiet. Rushing out, they found Crow's easel overturned. No, wait, Crow was dead, but his sketches had been stacked there by Amelia before leaving. Pages scattered, one depicting the vault opening with a cloaked figure counting coins. Face obscured, but a jangling bracelet visible. "Zara's?" she gasped theatrically. "My likeness, but I was here." Blackwood bellowed for Graves. No, Graves was dead. The footman, a lanky youth named Silas, appeared trembling. "Sir, the fog. Carriages lost on the moor. No departures till nightfall. Trapped anew." The group fortified the manor, barring windows with oak planks. Lamps fueled high against encroaching dusk. Dinner was a sombre affair in the dining hall, silverware clinking nervously over cold cuts and pumpkin pie remnants. Conversation turned to Reed's suicide. The Colonel scoffed. "Coward's way out. I served with tougher men." But Duval from his chair growled. He screamed as he fell. Pushed. Voss probed. Who benefited from his death? The map he carried. Vault locations marked for all heirs. Eyes darted. Hargrove choked on his wine. Suddenly Zara clutched her throat, convulsing, foam bubbling at her lips. "Poison!" Blackwood shouted, but Poirot was already at her side, tilting her head back, forcing charcoal from the kitchen. Her own séance brew, ironically. She retched, surviving, but rasped. The sherry spiked. Accusations erupted like fireworks. Voss examined the decanter. Nightshade traces, same as Hale's dagger. Administered post-pour, who handled it? Blackwood admitted pouring, but Silas had dusted glasses earlier. The footman bolted, but the Colonel tripped him in the corridor. Under interrogation by the fireplace, Silas broke. "Reed paid me to plant gloves, notes, said it was a prank for his article. But last night he met a woman in the fog, tall, veiled, not Zara. Descriptions matched Lady Thorne, who was miles away? No, her carriage returned, fog-bound, horses lathered." She burst in, dishevelled. "The driver vanished. I walked back, heard voices by the cliffs. Poirot orchestrated a reenactment in the chapel, torches flaring. Follow the killer's path," he commanded, starting from Reed's darkroom, through secret passage to cliffs. Footprints in mud, fresh, leading to a hidden cove. There, washed ashore. Reed's camera case, empty, but inside a soaked letter. "Lila, destroy the map after we split. Thorne knows too much." Lila. The twin had slipped away during dinner chaos, claiming headache. Leo accused her outright in the foyer huddle. "You always plot alone. Father's wine was your idea." She laughed coldly. "And your embezzlement? We're equal betrayers." Foghorns wailed from the sea as night fell fully. Jack-o'-lanterns reignited on the sills, grinning mockingly. Poirot locked them in the drawing room, posting Duval, ungagged now, allied by survival, as guard. But a thud overhead. Attic. Ascending creaking stairs, they found Lila dangling from a rafter, noose around her neck, pack dagger in her hand. Suicide. No, bruises on her throat staged. The map pinned to her chest with her own initial dagger. Vault sub-locations. Her share circled. Leo sobbed. "She confided in me. Reed seduced her for alliance, promised escape. But Thorne, jealous of our youth?" Lady Thorne cracked under Poirot's gentle questioning in the boudoir, her pearls scattering like tears. "Reed was my lover, blackmailed me with affair photos. Lila discovered, threatened exposure. I followed her to the attic, struggled, or she fell, but Poirot held up the letter. "Non, you pushed Reed, then Lila to silence them. The veiled woman, your height. Motive: Thorne family heirlooms in the vault, stolen by Reed's ancestors. Evidence mounted: her balcony confession hid a vault key necklace, now missing. Mud on her boots matched cliff prints. A vial in her reticule. Nightshade. Confrontation in the vault. Thorne lunged at Blackwood with the key dagger, screaming, "The fortune's mine by blood right!" Voss tripped her, the colonel restrained. But as irons clicked, Silas fetched from the stables, she laughed maniacally. "Fools! The Pact's true curse. Blackwood's child, my niece, waits outside. She inherits all if we die." Doors burst open. A young woman in fog-drenched cloak. Amelia? No, Reed's daughter, Evelyn Jr., pistol in hand. Father's revenge, vault or bullets. Chaos. Shots rang, grazing Hargrove's arm. Poirot disarmed her with a thrown candelabra. Logic prevailing. Your father's greed killed him. Join the survivors or perpetuate doom. She dropped the gun, weeping. Blackwood embraced her, revealing paternity. Vault redivided, including her share. Thorne carted to authorities. Fog lifted at midnight. Carriages freed. Poirot departed at last. Train whistle piercing the cleared night. "The pack broken, but echoes remain," he told Amelia, who stayed to document. As manor lights dimmed, a final scream. Voss in his study. Heart attack from stress. Or poison's delay? Autopsy pending. Halloween's full moon watched indifferently, whispering of unresolved threads weaving toward deeper darkness. Chapter 5. Whispers from the Attic. Shadow's moonlight sliced through the attic's grimy skylight like a silver blade, illuminating dust motes swirling around Voss's slumped form in the study below. But up here, in the forgotten eaves of Blackwood Manor, the air grew colder, heavier, with secrets long buried under rafters scarred by centuries of storms. Poirot, unable to shake the chill of Evelyn Jr.'s pistol shot echoing in his ears, climbed the narrow ladder alone after the others had dispersed to uneasy slumbers, his patent leather shoes scuffing against warped oak steps that groaned like protesting ghosts. The attic stretched endlessly, a labyrinth of trunks bound in rusted iron, mannequins draped in moth-eaten gowns from Blackwood's witch trial forebears, and cobweb-veiled mirrors reflecting fragmented versions of the detective's sharp profile. "The Pact's threads snap one by one," he murmured to himself. "But loose ends fray into new knots. Who poisoned Voss, if not Thorne's nightshade lingering?" A faint rustle drew him deeper, past stacks of yellowed letters tied with faded ribbons. Their wax seals cracked like broken oaths. One bundle caught his eye. Addressed to "My dearest Leo," in Lila's looping script, postmarked years before the twins' confession. Unfolding one, Poirot read of forbidden love, not with Reed, but with Blackwood's late wife. Scandal enough to rewrite inheritances, but voices, real, hushed, filtered from behind a false wall panel etched with the same pentagram as the chapel. Pressing his ear, he heard Leo's trembling whisper, "She can't know about the child." Or the second vault. A woman's reply, soft and venomous, "Hush, brother mine. We kill the last loose end at dawn. Then flee with the emeralds." The panel clicked open under Poirot's gentle push, revealing Leo and Crow. No, Crow was dead. Wait, Elias Crow's twin brother, hidden all along? No, the voice was Amelia's, her novelist's guise shed like a skin. They whirled, Amelia's hand flying to a concealed stiletto, Leo fumbling for a lantern that sputtered to life, casting their faces in hellish orange. "Monsieur Poirot," Amelia gasped, but her eyes held no fear, only calculation. Leo, sweat beading on his brow, stammered, We were searching for clues like you." Poirot's moustache curled in a knowing smile. "Clues, we? Or the second vault your sister died protecting? Speak, or the constables arrive with the fog's lift." Amelia sheathed the blade reluctantly, her romantic facade cracking. "Lila found it first, beneath the attic floorboards, not the chapel. Gold bars from pirate smuggling, Blackwood's secret vice. We planned to split it quietly, but Reed sniffed it out. Then Thorn. Leo collapsed onto a trunk, spilling its contents. A child's locket engraved E.J., Evelyn Jr.'s, containing a miniature portrait of Blackwood, proof of paternity beyond doubt. Father promised us shares if we silenced rivals, Leo confessed, voice breaking. But Amelia, she's no innocent novelist. Her plagiarism hid coded maps from her mentor, who was my great-aunt, guardian of the second vault. Amelia nodded coldly. I came for justice. My mentor died penniless, vault keys stolen by Blackwood. Lila allied with me, but greed turned her. I strangled her in self-defense when she lunged. Poirot examined the floor, fresh scratches around a loose plank, lifting to reveal an iron-bound chest brimming with unmarked gold ingots, glittering like captured sunlight, and a ledger detailing Blackwood's smuggling routes to fund the original 1912 fraud. But footsteps thundered up the stairs. Blackwood, alerted by the light, burst in with the colonel at his heels, revolver cocked. "Thieves!" he roared, eyes bulging at the chest. The colonel fired wildly, bullets splintering a mirror. Shards rained, gashing Amelia's arm. Chaos erupted. Leo tackled his father, fists flying in a frenzy of betrayed son against scheming sire. Amelia slashed with her stiletto, nicking the colonel's hand, while Poirot dodged, shouting, "Arrêtez!" The truth binds tighter than chains. He wrested the revolver free, pinning Leo with a well-placed knee. Blackwood, winded, slumped against a mannequin that toppled, its dress unraveling to reveal hidden compartments stuffed with more letters. Proof of his wife's affair with Leo's father, nullifying the twins' claims. Interrogation unfolded amid the debris, lanterns multiplying shadows into accusing fingers. Amelia admitted orchestrating Voss's death, slipping delayed arsenic into his tea during breakfast, revenge for his clinic experiments on her mentor. He dissected minds. I ended his. Leo revealed he'd planted the bloody glove in his and Lila's room to frame them mutually, buying time to dig the attic vault. Blackwood confessed smuggling funded the manor after the 12-will forgery. Voss's clinic his silent partner. The colonel, bandaging his hand, grumbled, "I loaned him arms for runs, war surplus, knew nothing of vaults." But Poirot uncovered a colonel's medal in the chest, stolen from a comrade, linking back to his confession, now motive for silence. Dawn crept in, grey light dissolving fog, as Silas the footman fetched ropes from the stables. Binding the trio, Amelia, Leo, Blackwood, for the arriving magistrate. Hargrove and Duval, roused from sleep, gawked at the gold. Zara emerged from her trance-like doze in the hall. Cards predicting the wheel turns, fortune shifts. Evelyn Jr., cradled in Zara's arms, clutched her locket, whispering, "Grandfather's lies end here." But as constables hauled prisoners down, a guttural scream pierced from the kitchen. Duval, convulsing on the flagstones, froth at his mouth. Poirot knelt, prussic acid in his water glass, administered during the attic uproar. "Who?" Duval gasped his last, pointing skyward, toward the attic. Search revealed the colonel's boot print on a rafter beam, revolver barrel still warm from a silenced shot. Wait, no shot heard. Poisoned pistol? No. The colonel, cornered in the chapel, confessed. Duval saw my medal in the chest, would expose my trench thefts anew. One drop in his glass while you dug truths. His war-hardened hands shook as irons clamped. Medals bought my silence in the pact. Now all crumbles, with 5 more down, Duval, Voss delayed, Lila, Reed, Thorn. The survivors dwindled. Poirot, Zara, Hargrove, Evelyn Jr., and Silas. Vaults combined yielded a king's ransom. Blackwood's smuggling ledger burned in the fireplace, ashes scattering like purged sins. Hargrove donated his share to war widows, redemption in his eyes. Zara foresaw peace in her cards, the tower upright at last. Evelyn Jr. inherited the manor, vowing to raise the chapel. Poirot boarded the noon train, Amelia's stiletto and Leo's locket in his pocket as mementos. The pact devours 13. 8 remain, but scars fester, he reflected, sipping tisane as countryside blurred past. Yet at the next station, a telegram arrived. Blackwood escaped custody, sighting at Moore's Inn. Come quick. The detective's grey cells ignited anew. Halloween's curse lingered, pulling him back into Twilight's deadly embrace, where final betrayals awaited under the harvest moon's unblinking gaze. Chapter 6. Echoes on the moorland's train wheels clattered rhythmically over iron tracks, lulling passengers into a false serenity as the English countryside unfolded in patches of golden fields and brooding heaths. But Poirot's mind churned like a storm-swept sea. The telegram crumpled in his gloved hand, a stark reminder that the pact's venom still pulsed. Blackwood escaped custody, sighting at Moore's Inn. Come quick. Signed by the local magistrate, it bore the scent of urgency and unfinished business, drawing the detective back toward the fog-haunted lands he'd thought to leave behind. Alighting at the remote station under a leaden sky, Poirot hailed a horse-drawn cab. The driver, a grizzled local with tales of spectral hounds roaming the moors since All Hallows' Eve drew near. "You best turn back, sir. Blackwood's curse walks free," the man warned, cracking his whip as they plunged into the misty expanse, where twisted thorns clawed at the path like skeletal fingers. The inn, a squat stone edifice named the Wandering Witch, hunkered at the moor's edge, its thatched roof sagging under perpetual damp, windows glowing faintly with peat fire light that flickered like wary eyes. Inside, the taproom reeked of ale and unwashed wool, patrons huddling in corners whispering of a burly man in tattered tuxedo who burst in at dusk, demanding brandy and a room, his eyes wild with pack-born madness. The innkeeper, a rotund woman with a wart on her chin, confirmed. "Aye, 'twas Blackwood, raved about buried fortunes and betrayers, slipped out back when constables came sniffing." Poirot tipped his hat, ordering a pot of tea to warm his bones, while scanning the room for clues. A discarded pumpkin brooch on the floor, Blackwood's signature pin smeared with moor mud. Pocketing it, he ventured upstairs to the room Blackwood had briefly claimed, finding the bed unmade, a window ajar leading to a fire escape vanishing into the haze. Outside, the moors stretched infinitely, a treacherous blanket of heather and bog pits that swallowed unwary feet, winds moaning like the ghosts of confessed sins. Poirot, undeterred, followed faint boot prints etched in the peat, his magnifying glass revealing fibres from Blackwood's cuff snagged on brambles. Hours blurred into twilight as he pressed on, the sun dipping low like a reluctant witness, casting elongated shadows that danced mockingly. A distant howl, wolf or hound, echoed, but closer came a human groan. Cresting a rise, Poirot found Silas the footman sprawled in a hollow, his lanky form bloodied from a gash across his temple, uniform torn as if by frenzied hands. "Master escaped with me as hostage," Silas wheezed, clutching a bandage improvised from his shirt. "Forced me to lead him to a hidden cache, smuggler's den from his pirating days. Gold bars missed in the attic hall." Reviving Silas with a flask of tisane from his valise, Poirot pressed for details. Blackwood had overpowered guards en route to the jail, using a concealed lockpick, Hale's gadget design, perhaps pilfered. He babbled of finishing the pact. 13 must fall for the curse to lift, Silas added, eyes wide with terror. Together, they trudged toward the den, a camouflaged cave mouth yawning behind a thorn thicket, its entrance guarded by ancient runes carved into granite, mirroring the chapel's pentagrams. Inside, torchlight from Poirot's match revealed crates of contraband, rum barrels, silk bolts, and a smaller chest of gold ingots stamped with foreign mints glittering coldly. But Blackwood was absent. Only a fresh blood trail leading deeper into tunnels that snaked underground like veins of malice. Echoes amplified every step as they delved, water dripping from stalactites like accusatory tears, the air growing fetid with mould and something sharper. Gunpowder. A chamber opened ahead, lit by a sputtering lantern, where Blackwood knelt over a map, unrolled on a makeshift altar of stone, his back to them, muttering incantations from a leather-bound grimoire. The final rite, blood of the last betrayers to unlock eternal wealth. He whirled at their approach, face gaunt and feverish, a pistol gleaming in his grip, the colonel's revolver snatched in escape. "Poirot, you hound me like fate itself, but the pact demands completion. Evelyn Jr. inherits nothing if I claim it all." Shots rang out, bullets ricocheting off walls. Silas dove for cover, while Poirot rolled behind a crate, his mind racing to disarm with words. "Monseigneur, the curse is your own greed. Confess the full truth, or doom engulfs you." Blackwood laughed maniacally, advancing. "Truth. I forged the 12 will to bury smuggling debts, killing dissenters, Thorne's husband, Voss's father, even my wife's lover. The pact summoned you all to eliminate witnesses, dividing spoils as bait. But Silas, rallying, hurled a barrel, knocking the pistol free. Struggle ensued. Blackwood's fists pummeled wildly, but Poirot tripped him with his cane, Silas pinning him down, binding him with ropes from the crates. They dragged him back to the surface, where night had fallen fully, stars piercing the cleared sky like judgmental eyes. Constables, alerted by the innkeeper, met them at the cave mouth, irons clanking as Blackwood was recaptured, ranting of spirits unbound. Back at the inn, over steaming broth, Poirot pieced final fragments. The grimoire detailed ancestral rites, linking Blackwood to Salem witches, his fortune cursed by blood oaths. Silas revealed he'd been Blackwood's illegitimate son from a smuggling tryst, explaining his loyalty turned betrayal. He promised me a share, lied, as always. As dawn gilded the moors, a rider arrived from the manor. Zara's tarot had foreseen peace, but Hargrove lay dead in his bed, heart failed from the strain, or arsenic traces in his tea, echoing Voss's fate. Self-inflicted? The note queried, but Poirot suspected Zara's hand, her bangles hiding vials for fortune-telling accidents. Boarding the return train with Blackwood in chains beside constables, Poirot sipped tisane reflectively, the brooch evidence sealing the host's doom. Yet Evelyn Jr.'s locket, mailed to him anonymously, held a new miniature, Zara's face, hinting maternal ties. The pact's bloodline endures, he mused as landscapes blurred. At the manor gates, Zara awaited, veil lifted, eyes gleaming with unspoken triumph. "The wheel turns, detective. Join us for the final division?" But a scream rent the air. Silas, throat slit in the stables, a pack dagger embedded, engraved with Z. Zara paled, or feigned it. "The curse claims another!" Interrogations resumed in the drawing room, flames roaring as accusations flew. Zara confessed partially. "I brewed the poisons for Blackwood's schemes, my crystal ball a spyglass for secrets." But Evelyn Jr., emerging from shadows, brandished the grimoire. "Grandmother, you killed to protect me, the true heir." Zara lunged, but Poirot intercepted, revealing her bracelet's hidden compartments, nightshade vials. "You orchestrated from the séance, madame. Confession's your leverage for control." Struggle brief. Constables hauled her away, her chance fading into the night. With only Poirot and Evelyn Jr. left, the manor echoed emptily. Vaults emptied into trusts for victims' kin. 13 entered. 2 survive, Evelyn whispered, clutching her locket. But as Poirot departed at last, a final telegram buzzed. "Amelia escaped jail, heading your way." The detective's grey cells sparked, the novelist's stiletto perhaps aimed at loose ends. Train accelerating into darkness, moors receding, But Halloween's pact whispered onward, threads unraveling toward a climactic convergence under Blood Moon's vigil. Chapter 7. The Blood Moon. Convergence train brakes screeched like banshees as Poirot's carriage jolted to a halt at Blackwood Manor's fog-veiled station, the detective's valise thudding to the platform under a sky bruised purple by the rising blood moon, its crimson glow bathing the moors in an unholy sheen that turned heather to veins of fire. Evelyn Jr. waited alone by a lantern post, her cloak whipping in the gale, face etched with dread as she thrust a crumpled note into his hand. Amelia comes for the air. Vault deed burns at midnight. Survive or forfeit all. Poirot's eyes narrowed, the telegram's warning now flesh. The novelist's escape from jail meant the pact's final claw sank deeper, demanding the last blood to seal its curse. "Ma fille, barricade the manor. We face the storm together," he commanded, hailing the waiting trap that rattled them through whipping winds toward the spires silhouetted against the ominous orb. Inside the great hall, shadows leaped from walls papered in faded witch motifs as they bolted doors and shuttered windows, the air thick with the scent of smouldering oak from a hastily kindled fire. Evelyn Jr. clutched the grimoire, its pages fluttering like trapped birds, while Poirot methodically checked locks, his magnifying glass catching glints of moonlight on packed daggers lined on the mantel. 10 now, 3 missing since dawn. "She strikes at the convergence," he explained, voice steady as iron. "When moon crests the chapel steeple, ritual hour to burn the deed and claim solo dominion." Footsteps crunched gravel outside. A silhouette flashed past a window, Amelia, stiletto gleaming, her novelist's dress torn to rags from Moortrex, a rock-shattered glass, note attached. "Blood for blood. Open, or I smoke you out." Flames licked kindling as Amelia's voice pierced the night, amplified by the wind. "Evelyn, your grandfather's spawn dies first." The mentor's maps were mine, vaults, manor, all. Evelyn Jr. paled, but Poirot pressed a dagger into her hand. "Defend the hearth. I hunt the hunter." Slipping through a servant's passage, he circled the east wing, heart pounding in sync with the tolling clock striking 11. Moonlight flooded the cliff's path, revealing Amelia crouched by the chapel door, pouring oil from a stolen lantern onto the oak timbers, match flaring in her fist. "Burn the lies," she snarled, but Poirot lunged from brambles, cane hooking her wrist. The match flew into mud, sizzling out. She whirled, stiletto slashing. He parried with his valise, brass clasp drawing first blood across her cheek. They grappled in the crimson light, rolling down slick grass toward the precipice, Amelia's breaths ragged with fury. "You stole my life, Poirot. Mentor poisoned by Blackwood's smuggle rum. Maps hidden in her novels I plagiarized." Her blade nicked his sleeve. He countered with a knee to her gut, pinning her against a jagged rock. "No, mademoiselle, your vengeance blinds you. The pact ends with truth, not more graves." She spat, kneeing free, fleeing into the chapel as thunder rumbled, moon peaking. Inside, Evelyn Jr. waited at the altar, deed clutched, flames leaping from Amelia's dropped match to ignite pews. "Choose, burn it with me or join the betrayers," Amelia screamed, stiletto raised. Evelyn hesitated, grimoire trembling, but hurled it into the blaze, pages curling black. "No more curses!" The deed followed, flames roaring skyward through the roof, illuminating a hidden recess. A final chest, smaller than the vaults, brimming with Blackwood's personal ledgers, names, dates, murders unconfessed. Amelia dove for it, but Evelyn blocked, dagger clashing in a frenzy of sparks. Poirot burst in, separating them. Amelia's blade flew free, embedding in a beam. "The ledgers prove everything. Blackwood killed my mentor himself," she cried, lunging barehanded. Evelyn sidestepped. Amelia stumbled into the cauldron, scalding bruise splashing, skin blistering as she howled. Constables, drawn by firelight, pounded at the door. Poirot hauled Amelia out, her struggles weakening from burns. "Mercy! The child in her—" she gasped. Evelyn's eyes widened. "Amelia pregnant? With Leo's heir, conceived in attic plots. Spare the babe! Ledger's yours," Amelia whispered, handing a singed page naming Blackwood's final victim. Zara's secret daughter, killed in 12 to forge the will. Irons clamped as flames consumed the chapel, structure collapsing in a pyre that lit the moors like a beacon. Evelyn wept, cradling the ledgers. Poirot comforted. Justice births anew. No more pacts. Midnight passed. Blood moon waned to silver, winds dying to whispers. Survivors, Poirot, Evelyn Jr., watched embers glow, Manor spared but scarred. Ledgers revealed full conspiracy. Blackwood's wife, Zara's sister, murdered for maps. Twins' father her lover. Voss complicit in cover-ups. Authorities arrived at dawn. Wagons groaning with evidence. Amelia carted to hospital under guard. Babe saved for uncertain future. Evelyn inherited cleansed. Manor to be sold. Fortunes to orphans. 13 souls twisted. 2 stand unbowed. Poirot toasted with tisane as first light broke. Yet, as he boarded the train, valise heavier with ledgers, a cloaked rider galloped from the smoke. Hargrove's widow, eyes blazing, pistol levelled. "You missed one. The banker's revenge for his death." Shots cracked. Poirot dove into heather, Kane firing back. Wait, Kane hid no gun, but distraction worked. Rider unhorsed, revealed as Silas's vengeful sister. Ledger fragment in her saddlebag, naming Hargrove's secret pact roll. Funding Blackwood's poisons. Subdued, she confessed. Brother's throat for silencing him. Now you. But constables swarmed. Justice closed another loop. Train chugged south. Poirot reflecting amid rattling rails. Blood moon a memory in the east. Telegrams piled. Duval's widow cleared. Voss's clinic shuttered. Colonel's medals returned to kin. Amelia birthed a daughter. Pardon for testimony. Evelyn wrote, "Manor raised. Peace at last." But final envelope slipped under compartment door. Poirot. The 13th guest lives. Meet at London docks, Halloween's end. Seal. Twisted pumpkin. Graycell's word. One unaccounted. Reads true accomplice. Train accelerated into sunrise. Detective's moustache set firm, hurtling toward the pact's ultimate unmasking, where Thames waters hid the last betrayer's tide. Chapter 8. The docks of deception. Thames waters churned black and oily under the gas lamps of London docks, as Poirot's cab rattled to a stop at the stroke of 11, the air thick with salt tang, creaking ropes, and the distant horn of a steamer bound for forgotten colonies. The detective stepped out, overcoat flapping like raven wings against the chill October wind. His valise gripped tightly as eyes scanned the labyrinth of crates stacked like ancient monoliths, shadows pooling where dockhands melted into night. The envelope's seal, twisted pumpkin, burned in his pocket, its message a siren's call. The 13th guest lives. Meet at warehouse 13, or the heir's blood stains the tide. Evelyn Jr., safe in a guarded flat miles away, had begged him not to come. But Poirot's little grey cells demanded closure. 13 entered the pact, and one phantom thread dangled, mocking resolution. Warehouse 13 loomed ahead, its iron doors ajar with a groan that echoed like a dying breath. Moonlight slicing through rusted skylights to illuminate dust-choked aisles lined with burlap sacks bulging from Blackwood's old smuggling runs. Rum, opium, silk stained with forgotten sins. Poirot entered cautiously, boots echoing on salt-crusted planks, magnifying glass drawn like a talisman. "Show yourself, mon fantôme," he called, voice steady as the Thames's relentless flow. Silence answered, save for dripping water and a faint scrape, like claws on wood. Deeper in, a lantern sputtered to life on a crate altar, casting a circle of gold light around a figure cloaked in black, face veiled, a pack dagger glinting in one hand, a coiled rope in the other. The figure stepped forward, veil lifting to reveal not Reed's ghost, nor Amelia's kin, but Madame Zara's identical twin sister Isolde, her bangles absent, but scars matching the fortune-tellers from a long-ago fire. "Poirot, the true 13th, she hissed, voice a venomous echo of Zara's chants. "My sister played the séance fool. I wove the real web from the shadows." She tossed back her hood fully, grey streaks in raven hair framing eyes burning with ancestral hate, Salem blood. Blackwood's witch forebears had hanged her line in 1692, cursing the manor with eternal vendetta. The Pact. My design, invitations forged, confessions scripted to draw betrayers here, then to vaults for slaughter. Poirot circled slowly, noting the rope's noose knotted in pact style, dagger engraved I for Isolde. You killed Silas, throat slit for overhearing your dock whispers. Hargrove's widow, your disguise, pistol loaded with his own bullets. Isolde laughed, low and guttural, advancing with dagger raised. Clever Belgian, Silas begged mercy, knew I poisoned Vos Duval, staged Lila's hanging. The chapel fire? My accelerant, ledgers saved in my reticule. She lunged, blade whistling. Poirot sidestepped, cane cracking her wrist. The dagger clattered into shadows. She countered with the rope, lassoing his ankle, yanking him down amid splintering crates, rum spilling sticky and sweet. They rolled across the floor, fists and elbows flying in a brutal dance, Isolde's nails raking his cheek, drawing blood that tasted of copper victory. Blackwood's child, Evelyn, dies tonight, ending the line, she snarled, knee slamming his ribs. Poirot gasped, vision blurring but twisted free, pinning her arm behind with a wrestler's hold from youthful Belgian fairs. Non! The curse breaks with exposure. Not more graves. Her free hand clawed a hidden vial from her cloak. Cyanide, same as Hale's, uncorking it toward his mouth. He headbutted her, vial shattering, fumes stinging eyes as she retched. Coughing foam. Constables burst through doors, whistles shrilling. Tipped by Poirot's prearranged signal. A dropped handkerchief at the inn. "Warehouse 13, Pact's End," their sergeant bellowed, lanterns flooding the space. Isolde thrashed, but irons clamped her wrists, her curses dissolving into sobs. The 13th guest, I was never invited. Only avenger. Search of her person yielded treasures. The missing 3 daggers, a duplicate grimoire with her annotations, and a locket chain linking her to Zara's murdered daughter. Sister's child, motive deepened by blood debt. Zara knew, Isolde confessed in chains, voice breaking. Played along for the ritual, but I struck first. Séance voice was mine. From the wires. Interrogation unfolded in the harbourmaster's office. Coals glowing in a potbelly stove as dawn crept grey over the docks. Isolde spilled all. Arrived pre-invitation, posing as Graves's shadow, poisoning sherry, planting gloves, shoving Reed from cliffs. Thorn strangled Lila on my whisper. She has the map. Blackwood's escape. I freed him, then drowned him in the cave pool, body fed to eels. Proof mounted, divers recovered his weighted corpse, pumpkin brooch snagged on weeds. The twins' father, her lover, killed by Blackwood pre-pact. Voss's experiments, funded by her opium sales, every death traced to her orchestration. The pact her puppet show for revenge. Evelyn Jr. arrived by police escort, face ashen but resolute, embracing Poirot as Isolde was led to a wagon rattling toward Newgate. "The heir lives, curse shattered," she whispered, ledgers in hand now complete. Dockhands cheered faintly, superstitions easing with the rising sun. Poirot declined reward, pocketing only a single gold ingot. For the orphans comme toujours. As wagons departed, Isolde's final glare pierced. 13 fall, but the blood moon rises again next All Hallows. Train to London proper hummed with morning light. Poirot sipping tisane in a first-class compartment. Valise lighter, grey cells at rest, telegrams confirmed. Amelia's daughter named Hope, manor ashes seeded with roses, fortunes redistributed to victims' families, Thorne's widow, Voss's patience, even Reed's cleaned legacy. Evelyn planned a quiet life, writing true tales sans plagiarism. But at Paddington, a newsboy hawked extras. Final Pact victim found. Artist Crow's body was imposter. Poirot snatched one, heart skipping. Elias Crow lived, hidden by Isolde as decoy. Real Crow fled to France, letter enclosed. Forgive my sketches. They exposed too much. The true 13th was me. Blackwood's bastard, Pact's silent witness. Grey cells ignited once more. Crow, the artist, unaccounted since death, now the last loose shadow. Poirot hailed a cab to the Channel ferry, moustache set like steel. The Pact whispers encore. One final brushstroke awaits across the sea. Steamer horns blared as he boarded. Thames receding, horizon promising confrontation where French vineyards hid the artist's final canvas of betrayal, under a sun that mocked Halloween's endless night. Chapter 9. The Vineyard's final canvas channel waves crashed against the ferry's hull like vengeful spirits, as Poirot gripped the rail, salt spray stinging his bandaged cheek from Isolde's dockside fury. The newspaper's headline seared into his mind. Artist Crow lives. Pact's ghost flees to France. The crossing blurred into dawn's golden haze over Calais, where he boarded a rattling train south through Normandy's rolling fields, vines heavy with autumn grapes that dripped like blood from the harvest moon's lingering curse. Crow's letter, tucked in his breast pocket, burned with cryptic strokes. Forgive the sketches, detective. The canvas holds the Pact's heart. Chateau Noir, Bordeaux. Come alone, or Evelyn's heir joins the 13. Grey cells whirred relentlessly. Crow, revealed as Blackwood's bastard son through a forgotten affair, had faked his palette knife death with Isolde's aid. Sketches not art, but encoded maps to a vineyard vault. The Pact's ultimate prize, wine casks hiding smuggled gems from Blackwood's colonial runs. Bordeaux's station bustled under crisp October sun by noon, cab horses snorting steam as Poirot rattled toward Chateau Noir, a crumbling vineyard estate perched on sun-baked hills, its black iron gates twisted like thorny crowns, grape leaves whispering secrets in the breeze. The air hummed with fermentation, sweet rot and oak barrels, masking deeper malice. A stooped vintner, face weathered like old cork, greeted him at the courtyard fountain, its water-stained rust red. Monsieur Crow awaits in the cellars, sir. He painted all morn, frantic, muttering of ghosts. Poirot nodded. Descending spiral stone stairs lit by flickering sconces, walls dripping condensation that echoed like tears, the temperature plunging to bone chill as he plunged deeper, boots crunching gravel strewn with shriveled vines. The cellar labyrinth unfolded, aisles of towering barrels stamped with Blackwood's pumpkin emblem, shadows pooling where torchlight failed. A canvas glow loomed ahead, propped on an easel amid a circle of emptied casks. Crow's masterpiece. 13 figures in Pact poses, but the 13th himself held a brush dripping crimson, faces morphing into skulls under brushstrokes. Magnifique, non? Crow's voice slithered from behind a rack, the artist emerging gaunt and wild-eyed, paint-smeared smock hiding a pack dagger at his belt, a pistol bulging in his pocket. His hands, once deft, trembled with fever, opium withdrawal from Isolde's supplies. You chased shadows, Poirot, while I painted truth. Father, Blackwood, sired me in these very cellars, 1890. With a maid he poisoned for silence. Poirot circled the canvas slowly, magnifying glass tracing hidden codes in the brushwork. Latitude, longitude for buried casks. Gem inventories worth empires. You killed the imposter artist, your double from the streets, to vanish. Sketches framed all. Now this claims the final vault. Crow laughed bitterly, circling opposite, dagger drawn. Imposter? My half-brother, Leo's cousin, Isolde's pawn. I slit his throat in the studio. painted the blood message myself. The pact, my inheritance right, 13 heirs contested. I eliminate claim solo! He lunged, dagger arcing. Poirot dodged behind a barrel, wood splintering as blade bit deep, wine gushing burgundy like arterial spray. They clashed amid the casks, fists thudding against oak, Crow's pistol firing wild, bullet ricocheting, shattering a lantern, flames leaping to dry vines. Evelyn's babe, my niece dies next, then you. Crow roared, tackling Poirot to the damp floor, thumbs pressing his windpipe. Vision tunneling, Poirot kneed upward, cracking ribs. They rolled into a pool of spilled vintage, slippery as blood. Gasping free, Poirot snatched a loose barrel stave, cracking it across Crow's knuckles. The dagger flew, skittering into shadows. Arrêtez. The canvas confesses. Your strokes match Blackwood's grimoire script. You forged invitations, whispered to Isolde. Poisoned the sherry first. Crow staggered up, pistol reclaimed, but Poirot lunged low, tackling legs. The gun discharged into ceiling beams, dust cascading like grave soil. Pinned, Crow spat defiance. Father promised me the Vineyard, hid gems in cask number 13, marked for bastards. I summoned you all. Hale's gadget. My design stolen back. Graves knew my face from childhood. Silenced. Voss experimented on me as a boy. His cure for my madness. Evidence poured as struggle waned. Poirot bound him with vine cords from the walls, the artist's ravings filling gaps. Thorn. Crow seduced her for vault keys, pushed from cliffs when she turned. Lila strangled in attic. His hands, Leo watching terrified. Duval poisoned mid-confession, Crow's nightshade vial, even Zara's twin. He revealed her to Isolde for mutual gain, then betrayed. A rumble shook the cellars. Cask number 13 rolled free under Crow's kick, bursting open. Not wine, but glittering cascades of diamonds. Emeralds, sapphires from African mines, Blackwood's blood-soaked legacy. Mine! Crow howled, scrambling through gems, but Poirot hauled him back as flames spread, vines crackling. None, Justice's hoard. Upstairs, the vintner, Crow's paid accomplice, barricaded the exit, but French gendarmes, telegraphed from London, battered through, whistles piercing the inferno. Au feu! Pact ends! They shouted, hoses dousing blazes as Crow thrashed in irons, gems spilling into evidence sacks. Interrogation in the courtyard under Vine Arbor, gendarmes circling like harpies. Crow broke fully, sketching his confessions on napkin, every death mapped, motives layered. Amelia's pregnancy? He fathered it in jail visit, ensuring heir leverage. Silas's sister? Forged letter to draw Poirot. Isolde's Newgate screams. His forged telegram delaying her trial. Evelyn Jr. arrived by private coach, babe in arms, reclaiming gems for orphans. Crow's niece, now ward of the state, safe. The 13th paints his noose, Poirot declared. As Crow was dragged to wagon, canvas rolled as proof, flames gutting cellars behind. Noon sun blazed as Poirot boarded return train. Valley stuffed with gem manifests for London auction. Proceeds to packed widows, clinics raised, manors restored. Telegrams flooded. Amelia exonerated fully, writing redemption tale. Evelyn raised Chateau Noir, planting peace roses. Isolde's confession corroborated all. Crow en route to Devil's Island, brush forever still. But at Channelport, final envelope waited, slipped under seat. Poirot, one guest breathes yet. Thames House, midnight. True 13th awaits. Seal, blank but ink-bled pumpkin shape. Grey cells flared. All accounted unless the unborn? Train plunged into twilight. Detectives' resolve steel as English shores neared, hurtling to the Pact's absolute eclipse, where London's heart hid the last heartbeat of Halloween's endless vendetta. Chapter 10. The 13th's eclipse midnight bells tolled from Big Ben like judgment hammers, as Poirot's hansom cab clattered onto the rain-slicked cobbles of Whitehall, Thames House looming ahead, a Georgian fortress of secrets. its columns dripping shadows under gaslight that flickered like dying stars. The envelope's blank seal mocked him from his pocket, ink bleeding into a pumpkin phantom only under moonlight, drawing him to this final lair where the Pact's heart pulsed unslain. Evelyn Jr. and her babe waited safe in Scotland Yard cells. Gendarme guarding every door, but Poirot entered alone, overcoat heavy with Channel damp, cane tapping marble floors as a lone porter. Face obscured by cap, whispered, "Top floor the library, sir. The 13th awaits." Elevators groaned upward, depositing him into a vaulted chamber lined with mahogany shelves, groaning under state secrets. A single desk lamp casting a pool of amber on a figure seated in high-backed leather, gloved hands steepled, face hidden in silhouette. "You sent the summons?" "Mon ombre dernière," Poirot declared, locking the door with a decisive click. Grey cells ablaze as pieces snapped into crystalline perfection. The figure rose slowly, removing gloves to reveal scarred palms. Chef's burns. Then the cap, unleashing a cascade of Silver Street auburn hair. Not Duval, dead by poison. Not Crow, chained in France. Lady Evelyn Thorne, alive, her cliff death, a staged plunge into shallows, retrieved by accomplices. Her ruby lips curled in triumph, pearls replaced by a locket chain bearing the twisted pumpkin. Bravo, Poirot. 13 entered. I am the eternal 13th. The puppeteer who forged every thread. She poured brandy from a crystal decanter, offering a glass he declined. Her voice silk over steel. "Sit. The eclipse reveals all. Pact's architect confesses before the Thames claims us both." Poirot perched opposite, magnifying glass tracing dust motes like fleeing lies. "Commencez, madame. From the invitation's crimson wax." Lady Thorne laughed, low and victorious, circling the desk as thunder rattled windows overlooking the Black River. 1692, Salem, my ancestor, Elizabeth Thorne, hanged as witch by Blackwood's forebear for hiding coven gold. Curse sworn, 13 descendants die yearly till vengeance full. I, last Thorne, revived it in 1912, forged grandfather's will myself, slaying Voss's father in his clinic, poisoning Blackwood's wife mid-childbirth to claim Evelyn Jr. as proxy heir. Smuggling? My colonial roots, gems funding the Manor trap. She flung open a wall safe, spilling ledgers, daggers, gem samples, proof cascading like confetti of doom. The invitations? My script posted from London Shadows, Graves. My lover, Butler Guy's hiding Thorne estate butler, slit by me when he wavered post-hail. Séance wires? My hands under table, voice modulator for ghostly threats. Confessions? Hypnotic suggestions via Voss's pendant. I dosed sherry pre-dinner, planting truths they believed their own. Poirot nodded, moustache twitching. Hale's gadget, your theft from his lab, used to pick Blackwood's escape chains. She smirked, tossing the device. Oui, Professor died clutching my forged map. Cyanide on dagger I plunged myself. Deeper revelations poured as lightning flashed, illuminating her scars. Twins. Lila seduced by me for attic vault access. I strangled her when Leo spied. His embezzlement, my framed accounts. Read? My journalist puppet, affair photos real, but blackmail reversed. I pushed him from cliffs after he demanded solo cut. Crow, I recruited him as bastard son, slit the impostor's throat, then poisoned his opium pipe in France. Your confession to gendarmes. My forged letter. She paced faster, eyes manic. Duval? Nightshade in his water. His family frame was my lie to enrage him against Blackwood. Voss? Arsenic tea. His experiments on my dead husband, actually killing him for insurance. Colonel? Medal theft mine, planted to force his packed bark. Heart attack staged with belladonna post vault. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Zara and Isolde, your twins in deception. Thorne halted, face twisting. Sisters to my mother coven remnants. Zara's séance genuine mediumship. I fed her visions. Isolde, my dock assassin, but I drowned her in Thames mud after Silas, my planted footman, illegitimate thorn, whispered her doubts. His throat, my dagger in stables, sister rider, my hired hag. Thunder boomed. She hurled the grimoire at his feet, her annotations throughout. Amelia, pregnant with my niece's seed, non, miscarried in jail. Her exoneration, my bribed judge. Stiletto yours to chase ghosts. Hargrove, arsenic overdose, widow guise me. Pistol shot missed you deliberately, drawing you here. The vaults, all mine, chapel, attic, cave, cellars, docks crates, every gem traced to Thorn Thames trade, not Blackwood's. Evelyn Jr., my grandniece locket poison planned for baptism. Blackwood's escape! I freed and drowned him in cave brooch planted. Silas's sister. Fabricated phantom envelope under your train seat. My maid in Calais. She drew the final packed dagger, T engraved, lunging with a shriek. 13 falls complete. You die. Curse lifts. Billions mine. Blade slashed. Poirot parried with cane. Brass tip gashing her arm. Blood mingling with spilled brandy. They grappled across the desk, ledgers scattering. Her nails clawing his throat as he twisted her wrist. Dagger clattered into fireplace flames. Hilt melting. Pinned against window. Rain lashing glass. Thorn gasped. Eclipse now. Moon dies, I rise. But Poirot pressed. Non. Scotland Yard surrounds. Tipped by my handkerchief signal at docks. Your porter. My Inspector Hastings. Doors burst. Hastings and constables swarmed. Irons clamping her wrists mid-snarl. The 13th unmasked. Lady Evelyn Thorne, architect of all. Evidence seized. Safe's contents. Her confession recorded on hidden gramophone. Her own trap sprung. Evelyn Jr. entered. Babe cooing, reclaiming locket purified. Aunt, why? Thorne spat. Blood calls blood, curse eternal. But Irons silenced her. Wagon to Newgate. Thames swallowing her screams. Dawn broke golden over London as Poirot, bandaged anew, boarded his train to Brussels. Valise empty, save tisane vial. Full revelation tabulated in his mind. 13 deaths, all hers. Hale stabbed, Graves slit, Crow imposter poisoned, Voss arsenic, Duval prussic. Lila strangled, Reed pushed, Blackwood drowned. Silas knifed, Isolde drowned, Hargrove overdosed. Zara's trance heart-stabbed postdocs, Colonel Belladonna. Amelia spared truly, writing under Poirot's wing. Vaults auctioned, millions to victims. Thorn widows housed, Voss patients cured. Reed orphans schooled, Twinskin compensated. Duval's restaurant revived. Chateau raised, Manor roses bloomed. Chateau Noir vineyards freed. Evelyn Jr. inherited cleansed legacy. Babe named Hercule, nod to saviour. Blackwood line purged, Thorn curse shattered. 1692 gallows, avenged not by blood, but law. Hastings clasped Poirot's hand. Case closed, old friend. Train whistled south, countryside greening. Halloween's shadow fled. If this tale gripped your soul, like, subscribe, and comment your favourite twist below. Your support means the world to us. Until next mystery, au revoir.